For those of you who are not aware, there was an earthquake in Syria and Turkey. And Syria, like before this earthquake, they were already under tremendous despair, I would say, so to speak. They already had sanctions put on them by the US government. I'm going to get into that in just a second. But people are starving in Syria. This is serious. A lot of people don't talk about it. A lot of people don't even know. When I leave this bubble, this independent media bubble, and I talk to everyday peeps who are not in this space, most of them don't even understand what is happening to people in Syria. So I want to start off with discussing the earthquake first, and then we're going to get into the issue about the sanctions and how there was actually an opportunity just recently for the US government to lift the sanctions on Syria, and they decided not to. So let's go ahead and get into this clip here. Here we go.
Exactly a month after the devastating earthquakes, which killed more than 50,000 people across Turkey and Syria, many are still coping with the crisis and a lack of proper shelter on an unprecedented scale. The United Nations Development Programme, the UNDP, estimates that in Turkey alone, at least 1.5 million people are still inside the disaster zone with nowhere to live. The true figure could, of course, be even higher. Well, our Middle East correspondent Anna Foster is in Antakya for us. And Anna, one can only imagine the devastation that people are still struggling to cope with.
That's right, Geeta. I think one thing that's notable today, a month on from those first quakes, is how little has physically changed. You still see so many buildings like this one. This was one of the new buildings that should never have collapsed. They should have stayed up because they should have been built in a way that made them able to withstand earthquakes. But nothing has changed here, and nothing will for a long time. What is slightly different, and you'll see the backs of these containers that people will soon be living in, but the problem is at the moment they're not. All of this is taking a really long time to put into place. It's quite a slow process, and in fact even through there you'll see tents. Many people here living in tents, some outside their homes, some of them in larger tented areas, and even further away you can see another place that's become a home for people, the railway station.
These trains haven't left the station for a month. They're homes instead now to earthquake survivors. Yilmaz and 5 of his family live in this carriage. They sleep on the seats, the few possessions they have around them.
They wanted to provide tents to us, but I refused. Tents are cold, and this place has a notoriously strong wind. Yarık kaya they call it. When it blows, all the tents will end up on the sea.
AFAD, the Turkish disaster management agency, says around 2 million people have left the quake zone altogether. 1.5 million more are still here and struggling. There's anger too that so many buildings were allowed to have design features that struggle to withstand an earthquake. More than 160,000 either collapsed or were badly damaged. And it wasn't just the old ones.
This is a well-to-do area, it's close to the park, and there are lots of modern buildings. All of them should have stayed up. But look, this one is so new that you can still see the stickers in the glass on the top floor. Nobody had even moved in there yet, and yet it is still toppled to the ground.
The scale of the task ahead is enormous. There isn't enough mechanical equipment in the country to clear the rubble quickly. So places like Iskenderun's collapsed hospital wing stay as they are. Personal medical notes litter the ruins. There are smashed pieces of equipment and medicines lying on the floor.
And you'll see images like this in Yemen as well. Now with Yemen, obviously, it was due to, drone strikes, etc. But you'll see people just living in the rubble because they don't have enough equipment to actually clear the rubble away. So you just live in that. Just imagine just living in that. And then now also imagine that the US government has sanctions put on you as well. Let's go on.
It's a moment frozen in time. People across southern Turkey simply don't know how long they'll be living like this for. Some, like Muzayen, want to stay as close to home as they can. She's sleeping in a tent right outside her damaged house.
My valuable articles are in there. Thieves are roaming around. The police are barely keeping them away. Lots of thieves. How can I live here?
Sprawling tented camps are the new towns. Big promises have been made for a programme of permanent rebuilding, but it won't happen quickly.
You can't deal with devastation on a scale like this in days or even in weeks. The impact of this is going to be felt by people here in southern Turkey.
You see this? Look at all the rubble. Again, there's no way to clear this quickly. No way. That's terrible. That's right, Terry. What a tragedy. An absolute disaster. And it's not an uncommon tale. Like, that's the thing. When you look at some of these countries abroad, particularly where there's countries of brown people, let's just be real, brown people and black people, this is not unusual. And they have to live like this. But a lot of people don't focus on those countries, though. You know, a lot of people aren't focusing on countries like Syria, countries like Haiti, countries like Somalia, countries like Yemen. Everybody wants to talk about what's happening to the Ukrainians. And this is not to say we don't feel sympathy, but everyone wants to talk about what's happening to them. But all these other countries that have been being destroyed for years, nobody wants to talk about it. You don't even hear about it. Does mainstream media talk about the sanctions that people are suffering under in Syria? Did they talk about that? No. Do they talk about the fact that people in Afghanistan are also starving? Nope. And you need to ask why that is.
For years.
Anna Foster, BBC.
Well, Anna, as we can see, is there a month on? And Anna, just how and who is helping the people there, obviously in such desperate need?
Well, help came very quickly in terms of search and rescue missions. We saw teams from all over the world who flooded into southern Turkey and did what they can to try and find people who were still buried under the rubble for those first 2 weeks. Now things have really changed because, of course, so much time has passed that everybody who may still be under these collapsed buildings has sadly lost their lives. And it's about supporting those people who survived. Now, people you speak to are grateful for things like the tent and the food and the aid, the water, the medicines, but a lot of people will tell you that there is still not enough. This is an area of around about 13 million people stretching across southern Turkey, and they still need an awful lot more aid because, as we were saying there, who knows how long this could last for. The scale of the devastation is so extensive. The size of the population that needs support here is so big that it makes it very difficult to try and provide that huge level of aid that's needed on an ongoing basis.
Anna Foster, thank you very much.
That's right. I have a couple of former students that were from Turkey. I should reach out to them and see how they're doing. It's been a while. But this leads to another issue, which is recently it was recommended by the UN human rights expert urging the US government to lift the sanctions on Syria. I want to get into this article and then I want to explain to you how that vote went, because I don't think you're going to be happy about the results of that vote. But you see what people are living in and what they're having to deal with. But there's more. Lift suffocating unilateral sanctions against Syrians, urges UN human rights expert. So you can see here. Let me go ahead and make this. There we go. I am struck by the pervasiveness of the human rights and humanitarian impact of the unilateral Kesheev? Did I read that right? Yeah, unilateral, coercive measures imposed on Syria and the total economic and financial isolation of a country whose people are struggling to rebuild a life with dignity. That's coming from Elena, who's a special reporter on the negative impact of the unilateral coercive measures of the enjoyment of human rights. Crippling sanctions. I actually need to make this bigger. I'm having a hard time seeing it. Okay. In a statement following her 12-day visit to the country, she presented detailed information on the catastrophic effects that sanctions are having on all aspects of life. Currently, 90% of Syria's population is living below the poverty line. She said this, pointing to their limited access to food, water, electricity, shelter, cooking, heating fuel, transportation, and healthcare. Now, everybody wants to talk about what people are missing right now in Ukraine and what they need help with. But I want to remind you, before this conflict with Russia and Ukraine, there was this situation with Syria. These people have been living like this for quite a while. And the United States government doesn't want to send any aid to help them, though. The United States government just voted to not lift the sanctions on Syria. These people are starving. These people have limited access to food, limited access to water, electricity, shelter, heating fuel, transportation, and healthcare. But you don't see the United States government shilling out billions of dollars to help them. Let's go on. Moreover, growing economic hardship threatens to trigger a massive brain drain in the country, with more than half of the vital infrastructure either completely destroyed or severely damaged. The imposition of unilateral sanctions on key economic sectors, including oil, gas, electricity, trade, construction, and engineering, have quashed national income and undermined efforts towards economic recovery and reconstruction. Human rights violations. At the same time, blocking bank payments and refusing deliveries by foreign producers, coupled with sanctions-induced limited foreign currency reserves, have caused serious shortages in medicine and specialized medical equipment, particularly to treat chronic and rare diseases. In other words, they are allowing these people to just die. If you're starving them, if they have limited access to medicine, to water, they are allowing these people to just die. And it's not just Syria. It's the other countries that I mentioned as well. And I want to point this out to you because I want to explain the hypocrisy with our government. Because they are really quick to jump up and say, we need to help aid these European countries. But when it comes to countries, and particularly, we're going to talk about this on Call In tonight, particularly countries where there are people that are brown or people that are black, U.S. doesn't want to give them any kind of help. The U.S. wants to put sanctions on those countries. But they'll steal their resources, though. Let's go on. And due to the unavailability of equipment and spare parts, Ms. Duhan warned that the rehabilitation and development of water distribution networks for drinking and irrigation has stalled, with serious implications for public health and food security. Now, this issue here with the water and public health, I want to explain what could happen here, which I know did happen in Haiti. We covered this probably like a month or so ago. Haiti saw an onset of cholera. Cholera was back in Haiti again because they had a lack of water. So when you have limited water, what does that affect, right? You need water to drink, but you also need water to clean yourself, to wash your hands. So if you don't have the water, then you're not able to wash your hands. And that leads to sanitation issues. And that's how cholera, a disease like cholera, can come back. So they have cholera again in Haiti. So not having enough water or sanitation, that can cause other diseases to happen. This is why I say they're allowing these people to die. Let's go on. In the current dramatic and still deteriorating humanitarian situation as 12 million Syrians grapple with food insecurity, I urge the immediate lifting of all unilateral sanctions that severely harm human rights and prevent any efforts for early recovery, rebuilding, and reconstruction. So here's the human rights issue here. And I want to highlight this because right now, the United States government, and last year too, they have made claims that China has made human rights violations. Even though that's been debunked by the State Department, but they've made those claims. But here you have proven human rights violations in Syria, and the United States government won't call it out because the United States government is complicit. They're a part of it. No reference to good objectives of unilateral sanctions justifies the violation of fundamental human rights. The international community has an obligation of solidarity and assistance to the Syrian people. But I've said this before, and I'll say this again. People don't care about brown people abroad. I'm cutting right to the chase with it. No need to gloss over it. It's a reality. And recently, this was noted in front of Rasheda Talib. Now, Rasheda Talib had an event here at the University of Michigan, and Jose and some of his comrades decided to confront Rasheda Talib. Now, there's two parts to this. The first part, they confront her about the money that's sent to Ukraine. But the part that I want to highlight tonight is the confrontation that Rasheda Talib has about not lifting the sanctions on Syria. Let's get into that.
Talib, I need to know, will you support Representative Gates' resolution to pull troops out of Syria? These wars are going to get us killed. We are forcing the Syrians into massive starvation. This is not something to ignore. The bill.
Look at this. So Rasheda Talib just turns away from her, ignoring her, talking to this woman. I don't know who this woman is, but talking to this woman. She doesn't consider this to be important, what this woman is saying. Now, that's really interesting because this woman is pointing out that people in Syria are starving. These people are dying. You need to lift the sanctions on them. Rasheda Talib has no interest in hearing this discussion. She has no interest in hearing this woman's conversation. But at the same time, Rasheda Talib is known as the vocal one in Congress to speak out against these type of atrocities that are committed towards the Palestinian people. So you see how, and no shade to that, in the sense that, yes, we acknowledge and we do understand the way the Palestinian people are being treated is absolutely horrendous. Totally understand that. And I've talked about that and I still stand by that. But it's interesting to me how Rasheda Talib, she can stand up and make those statements about the Palestinian people because it's her people. So if you can call out human rights violations towards the Palestinians, but you can sit here and you can ignore what is happening to people in Syria, what does that tell you about Rasheda Talib? This is why, when people make these statements to me and they say that Rasheda Talib, oh, she's the more gutsy one of the squad. She's the best squad member. She's more vocal. She knows her lane too. Let's just be real here. She'll speak up for her people. And you notice they all kind of do this in a sense, like AOC, she'll make sure she look out for her people. but she'll vote against legislation that helps other minority groups. We're calling it all out tonight. We're calling it all out because this is a problem. This same woman who has stood up multiple times and said we cannot ignore the way that the Palestinians are being treated. We cannot ignore the fact that the Israel state government is committing apartheid and they are pushing these people out. We cannot ignore it. But it's okay for you, Rasheda Talib. It is okay for you right now to ignore what's happening to the Syrian people. That's your gotcha moment. We'll go on.
Is going to be voted on Wednesday. Why are people ignoring this? People are dying in your name. Representative.
None of these people care. None of these people care. You didn't say the magic word. You didn't say it's happened to Ukrainian people. You didn't say it's happening to people in Israel. You said the wrong word. You said Syria. And I'll go ahead and tell you another thing too. If she would have said Haiti, they would have ignored it as well.
You are my representative, Representative Talib. I demand an answer to this resolution. I'm going to call your office. I'm going to be at your office. We need to pull our troops out of Syria. We need to stop the sanctions on these wars. Oh my God.
I feel her frustration. I really, really feel it. It really makes me feel some kind of way. It's just, don't come with me with this. You care about brown people abroad. You care about the people that fit your interests, that help you continue to get reelected. That's what you care about. That's what this is really about. So you can come out looking like the good one because you can say, I'm the only one in Congress standing up for the Palestinian people. And you turn your back on the Syrian people. So what is that? That's Rasheda Talib. And the woman talking to her, that's her constituent. I am absolutely disgusted and appalled that anybody right now can still sit here and carry water for these people. I cannot do it. I cannot do it. Palser says, I am Palestinian, Syrian, American. Syria and Palestine are one people in heart, and Rasheda betrayed us. It's gross. I want people to see the hypocrisy. You cannot, at this point, you cannot sit here and pretend like she is some hero just because she calls out one atrocity, but she doesn't call out the other. Of course, she's going to stand up for her people. Don't even come at me with this. Don't even come at me. They all do it. They all do it. But they turn their back on the other groups. Wake up, people. Wake up. And I'll show you that they all do it. Here's the voting roster here. Let's do roll call. So this is the bill. House Resolution 132. Vote question on motion to suspend the rules and agree, responding to the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria on February 6, 2023. So you're going to see the yay and nay votes. It passed. Only 2 people voted against it. Only 2 people voted against it. So let's check. We're going to check for the squad. We should do this by, there we go. All right. It's in alpha order, so let's just do it in alpha order. Who comes up first? Bush? Cori Bush. Yay. I just can't. I can't. Miss, I come from the Ferguson protests. You voted against lifting the sanctions on people in Syria. Make it make sense, people. You want to say, let's defund the police. Unarmed Black people being killed by the police. Totally agreeing with you on that. But you okay with these people being starved to death? Let's go on. Alpha order, who's next? Next should be, hell, I'm trying to remember all their last names now. We are going to, did we get Jamal Bowman? We didn't get him. I'm sorry. We're going to go back up. There he is. Jamal Bowman. Yay. Of course he would vote yay. Well, period is right there. Yay. Of course he would vote yay. Jamal Bowman is more concerned about starting a hip hop holiday than people starving in Syria. He more concerned about that. Let's move on. We did Bush. We did Bowman. We'll have Talib. We'll have Presley. Omar. We got to go to the O's. Let me faster. So they right next to each other. AOC. Yay. Ilhan Omar. Yay. Ilhan Omar. Originally from Somalia. The U.S. government issued drone strikes on your own people. And you raise your hand and you say, I wrote a letter to Joe Biden to tell him I disagree with this towards the Somalian people. This is my home country. Where's the letter, Ilhan, towards the people in Syria? Do you see it? Again, they protect their own. That's it. Let me go on. Then we go to the P's. So let's go to Presley. Here we go. Ayanna Presley. Yay. This is absolutely horrendous. Let's go to Rasheda Talib. Talib. Oh, I passed. Sorry. Right here. Rasheda Talib. Yay. So you see, I have to say this, and I apologize if I'm a little pissed. Because I got to say this, because the number of times I have seen this woman stand up and I have seen her say, we have to protect the Palestinian people. You're an actress. You want to protect your people, but you don't think other people who in dire situations abroad should be protected. You see, your votes do fucking matter. You can always pull up the roll call. This is why I tell you guys, you can always pull this up. This woman is a fraud. They're frauds. They're actresses. Don't buy anything that they say. Don't give them any of your money. And don't support them. Period. I don't know how much more I can stress that. I don't expect the Republicans, for the most part, to vote against it. I don't expect the Republicans to say, yes, let's lift the sanctions. I don't even expect these corporate Democrats who take money from the military-industrial complex. I don't expect them to do it. I don't expect the squad to do what they're supposed to do. But you know why this really upsets me is because there are a number of people who have not woken up, who still believe that they are the best we have. So let me make this very clear to you. If they are voting this way, they are not the best that we have. We have no best, damn it. Let's just be clear about it. There's no best. Stop it with the best. What we have are people who went into a system that became a part of that system. They have no problems voting along with Democrat leadership the way that they're told to vote. They have no problem doing this. They're not going to stand up for you. They're not going to stand up for me. They're in the system now, and this is a fucking joke. Don't come at me with, oh, but they're better than the Republicans. Are they? If they're voting the same damn way? Look at how they voted. Look. If we go back up to the top. Look. 414 people voted yay. 414 people voted yay. So tell me, people, for the people who keep saying to me, they're better than the Republicans, how the hell are they better than the Republicans if they are voting along with the Republicans and they refuse to lift the sanctions on people in Syria who are starving, who are dying, who need water, who need food, and who need medicine? How are they better? So I don't need to hear, don't come at me with it. Don't come at me with, oh no, we might get Trump. Oh no, if you don't vote for AOC, then the Republicans gonna win. Don't come at me with that bullshit. Not today. While everyone, so many people was talking about on Saturday, talking about Marianne Williamson, when you had Shama Sawant launch Worker Strike Back, and everybody talking about, oh, Marianne. Everyone's so busy talking about that. You were distracted about this. Most people don't even know about it. So many people talking about who's running for office, not talking about how these politicians are voting, though. We cannot allow ourselves to miss this type of information. We cannot allow ourselves to not pay attention. This is why I tell you it's very important to pay attention to the way that they vote. I don't care what they say. When they vote, it's on record. So nobody come at me. And Ayanna Pressley, I don't want to get no freaking text message from your campaign or anybody else in this area. Do not text me. Don't send me no damn emails. Stop asking me for money. Stop asking me to canvass for you. None of it.